My name's Natasha. I'm the Highway 3 office manager slash marketing slash a bunch of other things. And I'm very happy to be here today with Karen. And I just wanted to start off with an announcement as well. We are cloud specialized, which means we have obtained a certain level of cloud migration projects, and we have been able to develop a program where we can help our clients over and over again with their cloud products and whatever they may need. So it's very exciting because we've been working really hard for this specialization, and so we get to provide that to our clients, that level of support. And if you have any questions about that, or you want to get more integrated into our cloud migration program, then please reach out to us, because it's definitely an exciting time for that. I want to introduce our speaker. Her name's Karen. She's here. And she's the owner of Highway 3, as well as the head of Atlassian operations. She's going to be chatting with us today about a few things. And those things are going to be migration with enterprise organizations, what's new with that, and what we can expect. Governance and administration in those enterprise organizations and others, as well as what's next in enterprise cloud. There's a few things that are coming up that we wanted to share with you, just to keep you updated on things that are happening. So welcome to everyone who's joining. And we just wanted to start off by jumping right in with these topics. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We will be answering them at the end and make sure that you get all the information that you need today. We don't want to leave anything behind. So please give us a note or give us a question in the Q&A, and we'd be happy to answer. Karen, it's for you.
Great. Okay, so thanks everyone. Again, thanks Natasha for the introduction. And I want to say a little bit more about the cloud specialization. This is actually quite a challenging program. I think we are only the third organization in Canada to achieve this. And Atlassian makes you go through quite a lot of hoops to get this. So it's quite an honor, and it also gives us access to a little bit more resources at Atlassian than we had before. So very exciting. Okay, so your migration as an enterprise organization, and by enterprise, it can mean a certain size, it can mean a certain level of governance that you have within your organization. It doesn't need to be 1,000+ users with an enterprise license. An enterprise is an enterprise organization. So a successful migration to Atlassian Cloud requires 3 strategies. So meticulous planning, of course, a comprehensive understanding of your organization's Atlassian needs, which might not be so obvious to everyone. A commitment to ongoing management and organization of your ecosystem once you're in the cloud. So it's essential to approach the migration process strategically to unlock the full benefits of cloud-based collaboration and productivity tools. As a cloud specialized partner, we've been performing Atlassian migrations for 4 years, since before the end of life announcement for server, which is now coming up in 6 months or so, if anyone's watching. So the planning for a migration is like any other infrastructure operation. You need a project team with leadership support. And your team will certainly involve internal resources, but will also include your Atlassian Cloud Migration Manager, which is a resource on the Atlassian side that they provide to help you through the process, as well as optionally and recommended an Atlassian Partner. So the migration timeline is the first thing everyone wants to know about. How long is this migration going to take? So we've integrated Atlassian's 6-phase migration into our customized migration approach. As an enterprise organization with highly governed IT and privacy guidelines, we want to share some of our experience that will help you through a smooth transition. So what you see up here
Sorry, go ahead.
Is a high-level plan. So we've broken down each of these steps with milestones, deliverables, and responsibilities. So we have a lot of templates that we've built out over the years to help support the migration timeline. So the longest and most
Sorry, go ahead.
The longest and most underestimated cycle in this plan is, of course, the migration testing. So overall, a typical migration takes between 6 to 9 months. And the size and number of users is one factor, but not the only migration complexity. So before beginning your migration, you need to get a good sense of your organization's cloud readiness. So some organizations have a cloud mandate. They have a top level support for migrating their various infrastructure applications to the cloud. Others do not. So for the Atlassian ecosystem, which often includes a large amount of data, privacy and security of the cloud system is one of the first items to review. So this includes not only a legal review of the cloud terms for every product and every app. So this would be Confluence, Jira, Jira Service Management, Bitbucket, as well as every third-party application you use. But you also have to identify what kind of data classification you have in your system. So one piece of news that I'm not sure everyone here, if you're from Canada, you've been probably watching for data residency. And we are very excited to announce that that is solidly on the roadmap from Atlassian for the next quarter. So we're really, really excited about Canadian data residency. Many organizations have decades worth of content, especially in Confluence. So it's not a simple task to identify what kind of data is in your system. Cleanup and archival of older data is a great way to pare down this task to be more reasonable. So identity management in the cloud. So the user migration strategy is another area that we recommend you look at very early in the assessment and planning phases. Identity management is typically a separate group within an enterprise organization, and they're always super busy. So they need to be consulted before the migration and involved with the planning. Single sign-on and multi-factor authentication are handled differently in Atlassian Cloud through a product called Atlassian Access. And you need to make sure your identity management system supports cloud integration. You most likely need to do some kind of transformation and cleanup of user accounts, since on-prem accounts don't use email as their primary key, and in the cloud they do. In addition, if you have a combination of internal and external users, this can also affect the migration approach. The identity management and security regulations for your organization will impact whether you decide to go for premium or enterprise cloud plans, as there are some security features that are only available in the higher level plans. So migration process. When we did our first enterprise migration, the approach from Atlassian was full site migration. That was a big bang approach. You took your entire site, you exported it, you imported it. This was a simpler approach because there was only one way to do it, but it didn't allow for a lot of flexibility, and it didn't have a lot of functionality to support app migrations. So since that time, Atlassian has invested heavily in the migration tooling, and the Jira and Confluence Cloud Migration Assistants have replaced full site migration as the preferred tool. So the JCMA is a fantastic wizard-like tool. You go step, step, step back, and you are migrating a project to the cloud. It gives you that more flexibility for a phased approach and more support for app migrations, but it can also make the migration runbook more complicated. There are a ton of what they call secret features that you have to unlock, and just tons of variations in steps to running that JCMA. Next.
Well, I've heard that migration can be easy because they provide those assistants. So you can just run that JCMA, can't you? I think so.
No, you can't. So migration, this is a myth. Migration is not a mirror copy or a data dump of the server. It's not simply a matter of migrating the data all at once. Migration plans are complex and typically take several months to develop. During the cloud migration planning and testing, Highway 3 prepares a customized runbook that is a step-by-step guide for a production migration. And it's what we use on run day, migration day, to know exactly what needs to be done. And this is a template of our customized runbook, which we're continuously developing as Atlassian enhances the tools. So this template, let's see. Yeah, so the template is super important. If anyone has done a migration, an infrastructure migration that has to be done on a weekend, you need to know who's going to do what when and how long it's going to take. So again, we spend 6 months creating this runbook, and by the end, we can run it in our sleep. But we don't. Okay, apps. So migrating apps has always been the big unknown with Atlassian migrations. When Atlassian first announced the end of life for server, they were actually recommending if you have more than, I think it was 12 apps, they recommended that you do not migrate to the cloud at that time. So since then, things have changed. Apps are becoming much more supported, but supporting an app migration doesn't mean that an app has the same features on server and cloud. And so our cloud migration readiness check, which is the first phase that we do in a migration, it focuses heavily on apps. So first of all, is there even a cloud equivalent? There aren't always. How often is the app used in your on-prem environment? This is one of the biggest questions, because in an on-prem environment, people might have installed apps over several years, decades, and no one really knows, is anyone using them? So we have developed a number of techniques to determine whether apps are used in both Jira and Confluence, and those require, sometimes we use the API to determine, and sometimes there are other techniques we can use like SQL scripts. Another thing you have to think about is with apps is, does it meet your legal requirements in the cloud? So each app is supplied, if you're familiar with Atlassian apps, they're supplied by third-party vendors, which means another company other than Atlassian provides terms and conditions in the cloud. So you do have to have every single app reviewed if that's your legal process. Another thing we want to think about is there an alternative built into Atlassian Cloud? Atlassian Cloud is, some of you might already be on the cloud, they are pushing features left, right, and center. So they are promoting tons and tons of new functionality. Specifically, Jira automation has replaced quite a few of the features that used to be supplied by workflow customization applications. And similarly, Confluence Whiteboards was just announced, and that has replaced some of the apps that provide diagramming tooling.
Excellent. We want to know about what you guys think. If you have thought of this, migrating one site instead of all at once, maybe be the best way to find out, or sorry, migrating one site or project maybe would be a bit easier to find out how to migrate every project in your organization. So maybe just trying one and then seeing how that goes and then doing the rest of them. That probably should work out, right? Well, let's see if this is a myth or if it's true. We want to find out. What do you guys think? Okay, there's some in both camps. It's pretty even so far. Well, that's very interesting topic then. Let's see if we can figure out the answer. Karen, do you know?
Okay, so this is the most common thing that, yeah, that's interesting. So 38% say good idea and 62% say false. So, I mean, it could work, I guess I could say. A single project could be representative of all your data, but this is absolutely the most common thing that we see people doing. They take a single project and then they say, I can just roll that out to all my other projects. So big no. Application data is very specific to subsets of projects in larger, especially organically grown environments where an environment was managed by different people over time. So older projects might have a certain template, newer projects have a different one. Workflows are often shared between projects, but not all projects are likely to use a single workflow. So workflow migration is a common thing that is not supported. There's been a workflow customization that is not supported in the cloud. Projects vary greatly in size, and a size of issues plus the total size of attachments can affect the migration success, as well as, of course, the timing. If you're doing timing, you can't just take a project with 10 issues and say, well, I have 100,000 issues. It's going to take X number of hours to migrate. Another big area that a single project can't tell you is some projects might use a certain app where others might not. So let's say you have an app, time and status. Maybe some of your projects use that, but you chose to migrate a sample project that doesn't use it. Finally, of course, there are 3 different template types for Jira projects. There's Jira Service Management, Work Management, and Software. Each one has a different JCMA migration technique. So it can give you some idea, but it is definitely not an approach we would recommend.
Excellent. Move into governance here.
Okay, so now you've migrated or you're in the process of migrating and you're thinking about what is it going to look like to support this environment once we're in the cloud. So, just like on-prem, governance considerations involve establishing policies, processes, and controls to effectively manage and govern the use of Atlassian Cloud products. Your organization might already have varying levels of governance within your on-prem solution, but it's a great opportunity to revisit those policies and update them for the cloud. On-prem Jira solutions, Atlassian solutions, have historically often been handled off the side of someone's desk. Some larger organizations, of course, have already a dedicated group of administrators, but often those administrators are supporting the on-prem tools like the database or the infrastructure, and they're not really supporting the Atlassian configuration and processes that your users are experiencing. One example of an area that you will almost certainly have to modify for the cloud is the administration roles within your organization. So of course you don't have a database administration. No one has to restart Jira every night because it gets slow. In the cloud, they have different types of security roles. So they have product admin, user group admin, and an organization admin. So these roles don't really align directly with those on-prem, so you have to update your assignment of responsibilities. So another area that kind of related to that is access control. So we know that licenses are more expensive in the cloud. On-prem, you probably had a tier of licenses. Maybe you had up to 500, maybe you had up to 2,000. In the cloud, the tiers are smaller, so people tend to be, and the licenses are more expensive. So people tend to be a little more careful about how many licenses they're allocating. So one of the first things we recommend and we support during the migration is to establish the processes for user onboarding and offboarding, so you're effectively utilizing your licenses. One of the things that Atlassian Access gives you is analytics about which users are using which products all in one place. This is actually a really great feature that wasn't available on-prem, and it can give you a lot more visibility into the activity of your users and what they're doing. Another kind of administration support that is going to be very different in the cloud is backup and disaster recovery. I'm actually surprised we don't get a lot more questions about this. It's something we always bring up with our clients. A cloud backup is not that easy to do, and it's not that easy to recover. It's actually a lot easier on-prem because you have predefined processes for recovering a server and a database and attachments. Well, it's not like that in the cloud. As well, in the cloud, you have app data that is not self-contained within your environment. So we've supported our clients through developing some customized backup scripts that will automatically back up your data. But we also help with establishing a plan to utilizing the sandbox, recovery destinations, and planning with your disaster recovery teams to what would happen if something went wrong in the cloud. Change management in the cloud. So as it relates to your Atlassian ecosystem, I'm talking about changes to configuration, permissions, or apps. What we found is as our clients migrate to the cloud, their support team gets a lot more requests from users, whether that's trying to understand new features, onboard additional teams for work management, ITSM, or software, or just make general improvements to their processes. This is great because people are going to get more out of the tools, but it does, it makes a lot more load on your support team. So we recommend developing a change management process for introducing updates, configurations, and customizations within Atlassian Cloud. Testing those changes in a controlled environment. In your on-prem system, you probably had a staging environment or somewhere that you could implement changes. You might have used an application like configuration management to migrate those changes to production. In the cloud, you're going to have to figure out a new way to do that, and we can support you doing that. Atlassian does provide a sandbox with premium instances. A sandbox is a product environment that is a copy of your production environment. So you can think of it like your staging environment, but it doesn't include all the data. So there's a little bit of gotchas there where, it's not quite as easy as maintaining a staging environment, but Atlassian does provide some support for that in the cloud. Communication for change to users and stakeholders. and providing training is another area that can really improve the benefits your users get once they're in the cloud. Atlassian, as I mentioned earlier, is rolling out features almost daily. Like they're rolling out a lot of features. And you can bundle your features so that they only get released once, I think a month is kind of the maximum you can go, which kind of stops those features from interrupting your users on a daily basis and allows you to control the deployment of the features so that they come in a bundle. As far as how to back up.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So one thing we're doing, and a lot of our customers are taking advantage of Jira Service Management to intake requests for changes within the system. So if you aren't familiar with Jira Service Management, you will be. It is Atlassian is putting so much energy into this product, and we love it. Jira Service Management is a template project that allows for users to make requests. It supports SLAs and approvals. And if you use this to actually manage change within your system, you can expose those changes to the people on your teams. It's an easy intake and tracking system for your administration support. Even if you use another tool for your general ITSM, we really recommend using JSM with a small number of agents to support your Atlassian administrators in managing their system. So costs and considerations. So as I mentioned before, of course, licenses are more expensive in the cloud. Total cost of ownership, is debatable. It's you don't have to maintain a host, database. The people who were doing that kind of maintenance are no longer required to do it, but you are paying for Atlassian to do that support. So we do recommend, and before you also probably had a perpetual license on server. So now you have a yearly or maybe a 3-year term license. So we really recommend you maintain a bit of a closer relationship with Atlassian as a cloud service provider. Understand Atlassian's service level agreements. Take advantage of all of the services they offer you. As an enterprise customer, you likely have access to resources within Atlassian called enterprise or loyalty advocates. If you aren't sure if you do, reach out to us. We can help connect you. Atlassian partners often work together with the Atlassian advocates to provide the best service for you, the client, with regards to license recommendations, product evaluations, and general support. As far as cost management, as I mentioned earlier, monitoring and having a good process for your user onboarding and offboarding is really critical to keeping your license costs down. Another area that you can help with as far as costs is if you have expensive apps and you're on an enterprise license, you can use the multi-site feature to split off sites into specific business areas so that you can reduce your app costs. An Atlassian partner can help with regular audits of your system to ensure you're at the right cloud plan, that your apps are optimized, and that your user counts are appropriate. So the other thing that we've been seeing a lot of clients starting is an internal center of excellence. So this is an Atlassian Center of Excellence is a dedicated team or group within an organization that's responsible for promoting best practices, standardization, and expertise in the use of Atlassian products and solutions. This doesn't need to be a full-time 5-person team, but it does have to be, we recommend people establishing a specific group that is supporting this product. So this COE plays a crucial role in driving efficiency, consistency, and innovation in the use of Atlassian products across the organization. And so the 3 tips for building a center of excellence. So building a capable team is to clearly define the goals and objectives. So make sure you look for individuals with expertise in Atlassian products or plan a training program to grow them into that role. Those people should have experience in change management, agile methodologies, if that's what your organization is doing, training and project management. Consider the diversity of skills and perspectives within the team. Some of your team members might have a specialty more in the Jira Service Management. Some people may be more specialized in DevOps and Atlassian software. Atlassian COEs often benefit from a mix of technical expertise and user experience knowledge. So the other thing to do is make sure that your users know there is a center of excellence. So conduct regular outreach and communication to ensure that users are aware that these resources exist and what they can provide. Sometimes we use the banner at the top of the Atlassian ecosystem to alert for some kind of internal webinar where you introduce your COE. So a COE should provide training and support to empower the users to make the most of Atlassian products. And of course, you can supplement your internal team with an Atlassian partner. So we also do this with a lot of our clients. They have a center of excellence, but they're growing that expertise. So if you supplement with an Atlassian partner, they can give you access to a cross-section of expertise without having to develop it in-house. And these partnerships can grow your internal team through cross-training and be used for team augmentation during periods of high load.
What's next, Karen?
What's next in
What's coming up?
So we recommend that when you first migrate, or even right before you migrate, we recommend what we call a health check. You'll find almost every Atlassian partner has a service offering called a health check. You can do it yourself. And really is just an assessment of your overall environment, not from a migration perspective, but from a best practices perspective. So how well are we using consistent templates for projects? How customized are our workflows? How brittle are our automation rules? So if you're getting this done professionally, the deliverable is typically a roadmap to give you a backlog of technical debt and other ways to improve your system, which might be features you're underutilizing. So a health check can also involve consulting with certain groups that are using the system to ensure that they are using them correctly and they have the right training and they have the right processes and they understand how to use the tools. So as far as features in the cloud, and these aren't enterprise-specific features by any means, the number one product, as I mentioned, that we see our clients expanding into is Jira Service Management powered by Assets. I can't say enough about Assets. Assets is a built-in feature. It's a product that Atlassian bought about 3 or 4 years ago from Insight. They've incorporated it into their core system, and you can use it not only in Jira Service Management, but in Jira software once you've got it acquired. So it's a built-in feature that allows you to track things like hardware, software. You can use it as a CMDB. You can track people, office equipment, you name it, and you can track it, and you can link it to service management and software tickets. So just an incredible product. Even for clients that use other organizational products like ServiceNow, JSM is an amazing add-on for DevOps and internal Atlassian requests. We call this a coexist system, and it is a very, very common deployment option where some of your intake comes through Atlassian and some of your intake comes through your more corporate-wide ServiceNow implementation. Automation is a close number 2, so no more modifying workflow post functions. You can do almost all workflow customizations through automation. Trigger actions, which is what triggers the automation, are being expanded all the time. And every time I look at it, there's new things. You can now do things like creating a Confluence retrospective page automatically when a release is deployed. So just kind of the sky's the limit with automation. But it takes a little bit of planning again and understanding what are the right automations for your environment. DevOps is another area that, especially with change enablement, they're integrating more and more pipelines to support gated deployments, automated integration for change enablement, and much more. So the big announcement, of course, next is Atlassian intelligence. So if you were at Team 23 or you watched the program, you heard all the buzz about Atlassian intelligence. We just got the early adoption access in our environment and we're playing around with it. It's incredible. Whether it's summarizing meeting minutes in Confluence, defining new work in Jira software, or helping you craft the perfect response as you're seeing here in Jira Service Management, Atlassian, Atlassian Intelligence does the heavy lifting for you. So speaking of ITSM and artificial intelligence, specifically Atlassian Intelligence, we do have an event next month. It's an in-person event in Victoria. If you can come, fantastic. We'll have links all over the place where you can sign up. We have an Atlassian global solution engineer coming over from Vancouver. We're very lucky to have him. There's only about 4 in the world. One of them happens to be in Vancouver, and he's coming over to speak at this event. So we're really, really excited about this. He's going to be talking about general artificial intelligence with ITSM, and then specifically about the Atlassian products. Questions? So the question is, given the deadline of February 2024, 6 months, and I just told you a migration takes 6 to 9 months, what are my best options for migration? So of course, start now. The first step we recommend is a pre-migration cloud migration readiness check. So understand how long it's going to take you, because right now you probably don't know. So first step is to try and get a cloud migration readiness check. Again, a lot of partners do this. We do it really well. So reach out to us. The other thing that Atlassian has recently announced, if you are in the 1,000 and up user tier, they are going to extend your server license for a year. So that's very exciting news. If you buy a cloud license for 1,000 users, you can get an extension. You don't need to upgrade to data center. So reach out to us if you are 1,000 users and up, and you think that might apply to you. We can help you understand if that's available. Otherwise, your real option is to convert to a data center license. That is not a migration typically, it's a license swap. There's a little bit more to it, but you do have the option to purchase a data center license, which will extend your on-prem lifetime.
Excellent. There's another question.
Oh, sure.
When you're assisting with migration, do you support training plans for staff, i.e. best training paths? Atlassian University's site is a lot of information, and I've been there. Yes, it is. It's a lot.
Yes. Yeah, we have we have a number of different training paths available that we've created over the years. And those training paths are specific to the different roles. And we also do customized training materials to support people in their own environment. When we do a migration, we also, we typically try and schedule a number of open house Q&A kind of introductions to the cloud for larger organizations where everyone can attend. And we find those also really helpful. But we do provide a ton of training for everyone, but end users to administrators to JSM, you name it. Yeah.
Excellent. There's another question here. When will the Canadian data center be available for sensitive PII?
Yeah, I think it's October.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think October is the month. November at the latest, but it has been announced that it is, we are no longer on the roadmap. October 2023. Yes. So we are looking at, in the next couple months, having a Canadian data center. We're very excited. Yes, it is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some excitement.
Yes. We have been waiting a long time, and Atlassian has pushed it off, but the Canadian partners have been arguing for it. We've said that our clients need it, and it's come through, so we're excited.
Yeah. So what can people do if they're curious about our migration offerings, or just have questions about their Atlassian usage?
Yeah. So again, as I mentioned, reach out to us for a cloud migration readiness check. This is a pretty quick service. It's about 3 weeks. We give you a package of things, SQL scripts you have to run. You send it back, we do a bunch of analysis, we talk to your teams, and we give you a budget and a timeline and a recommendation for your path to the cloud. You can then use that to go ahead and, decide to service it internally, or you can reach out to other partners for different quotes. So either way, it's a great prerequisite kind of service. If you have infrastructure experience, you think you want to try the migration yourself, we also do team augmentation. So we've created, as I mentioned, a ton of templates. We call this a guided migration. So we can support you in the migration without doing it ourselves. So it's a bit of a kind of a special offering. You need to have the expertise in-house to support your own migration, but we can help with that. Again, we do training. So we provide not only training paths for yourself, but we also do training recommended, like we do our own training for you, customized training. And we also do train the trainer. The health check I mentioned, this is a great way to get a baseline from a best practices perspective, as well as, are you optimizing the system? This can be done on-prem or in the cloud. And of course, implementation support. So all levels of support we can provide, just reach out.
Yeah, through email, our website, or on our social media. Speaking of social media, you can follow our LinkedIn because we want you to be at our next webinar too. Whatever we may be chatting about, probably cloud migration, because we're doing a 3-part series. This is part number 2. So we want to make sure that you're in the loop about that. So you can scan our QR code there and follow our LinkedIn. I'm also just going to put a link in the chat to our YouTube channel, because that is where this webinar is going to be posted. If you want to look back and remind yourself about some of the things we talked about today, we also have a previous webinar on there as well. So you can check out that and all of our future ones as well. So you can subscribe, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions about our content as well. And then you will probably get a link to this webinar in the next week or so. The recording of it will be on YouTube, and then you can, if you didn't take notes, that's okay. Well, we'll send you the recording, so it's all good. If there isn't any other questions, we are going to finish up. Thank you so much for everyone who attended. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and of course, come see us on the 12th of October. We're going to be in Victoria, so we want to come chat with you about your Atlassian service, and make sure we can support you in any ways that you need. So thank you so much, Karen.
thanks, Natasha. Have a great day,
Have-
everyone.
Take care. Thanks.